you a merry Christmas, we fish you a merry Christmas, we fish you a merry Christmas, and a happy new year. Hello human beings, Power Gamer here, and the holiday season is upon us once again, and I'm very excited. I have this big event that I'm going to. I was just putting up some finishing touches here, but now I'm off. Come on. Come on. Come on! Crap, I'm snowed in. Now what am I supposed to do? I can't celebrate Christmas by myself. Well, I guess there's nothing else to do other than find some Christmas-like game to help pass the time. Let's see, no. Yeah, sure, that'll work. LittleBigPlanet, a great example of a temporary success. This game was huge when it first came out, but nobody really talks about it anymore. It's not a dead franchise, but it's nowhere near as big as it was when it released. The game was developed by Media Molecule, a British development studio founded by Mark Healy, Alex Evans, Dave Smith, and Kareem Atouni. I apologize if I said that name wrong. The four of them had previously worked for Lionhead Studios on the game Ragdoll Kung Fu, and they wanted to make a game that had similar controls but would be playable on a console, and they also wanted it to utilize user-generated content. After a meeting with Phil Harrison, the president of PlayStation Studios, they were given a deal to develop the game exclusively for the PlayStation 3. Healy served as creative director, while Atouni was the art director and Smith and Evans were technical directors. They wanted to bridge the gap of casual and hardcore gaming by utilizing the tagline, play, create, share. The game was released on October 27th, 2008 for the PS3, where it was a massive success, at least at first. Sales started to dwindle by 2009, but it still ended up selling over 3 million copies. The critical reception for this game, though, was through the roof. It was nominated for tons of awards and won many of them, including Game of the Year by various media outlets. And it holds a whopping 95 on Metacritic. Keep in mind, that's the same as Portal 2 and The Last of Us, and higher than God of War, Dark Souls, and Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. That's insane. The game would end up receiving multiple DLC packs, and it got 2 sequels as well as a number of spin-offs. I have very little knowledge about this series. I've never played any of the games before, but I have been curious about giving it a try, and it's not like I'm going anywhere, so hopefully this will be a nice way to spend Christmas. Let's go. The game immediately opens with a tutorial. Wow, they waste no time at all. As the narrator describes to you, you play as a sentient ragdoll called a sackboy, or sack person, I guess? Yeah, whatever, I'm calling him sackboy. And sweet mother of Christ, this is one of the most adorable video game characters I have ever seen in my life. Aw, just look at the little guy, he's so cute. I just want to give him a big hug. Anyways, the narrator explains how to play the game, and after you finish the tutorial, he introduces you to your space pod. The space pod allows you to explore the world of LittleBigPlanet, which is just a way of contextualizing how you get to each level. He encourages you to go explore, and that's it. This game doesn't have much story to it at all. The story mode has you travel down to the planet and meet characters who will ask you to help them with something, which just requires getting to the end of the level. It never gets any more complicated than that. You're just doing things. It's incredibly basic, but it's very clear that the story is not the main focus of the game. The real focus is the levels themselves. The one thing this game does absolutely flawlessly is the visual style. Everything, and I mean absolutely everything, looks like it was handcrafted, and I love it. There is so much charm into how this game looks, and the level designs are ingenious. Every object serves some kind of purpose and has a real-world element to it. Characters and creatures are made of paper cutouts, floating objects have something like string or rubber bands attached to them, the backgrounds look like the real world but from a smaller perspective, and there are some brilliant designs like using cardboard boxes for stairs and falling icicles which can be used as platforms. The game really does make you feel like you're a tiny person going through these strange obstacles that could very easily exist in real life. It will probably take days to make something this complicated, but I'm sure somebody could do it. And the game has a fantastic soundtrack too. It's incredibly varied to match the vibe each area has, and it's done super well. Okay, that's enough about the visuals. How does this game actually play? It's a 2.5D platformer, meaning that while it's played from a 2D perspective, you can move more than just left and right. Levels are structured to have 2 or 3 different planes, allowing you to move forward or backward from the camera. This is mainly used in avoiding specific obstacles and taking different paths. Levels are very non-linear, so you'll be going in all sorts of different directions to reach the end of the stage. You'll know you're at the end when you reach this giant TV screen with a big panel in front of it. Now, while the game is a platformer, the real focus is on exploration and puzzles. Many times you'll have to use various objects lying around in order to get through the stage. By holding the R1 button, you can grab things, letting you push and pull them or ride them to reach new areas, either by swinging over stuff or these spinning wheels that can launch you. Levels also tend to have makeshift vehicles and moving platforms. Occasionally you'll run into an enemy and you have to hit this red button to break it apart. Most of the time it's on top and you have to jump on them, but other times it's on the bottom and you have to make them jump on you, which is really creative. Throughout the levels, you'll find these red orbs which increase your score, as well as a bunch of collectibles. The most common ones you'll find are stickers, and any time in the game you can whip out your poppet, which acts as an interface. By collecting stickers, you can place them anywhere you want in the level, just because you feel like it. And there's these spaces, which reveal some kind of secret if you place the correct sticker on them. You can even make your own stickers with a PS3 eye camera. I can't show this off though. Do I look like someone who owns a PS3 eye camera?
What do you mean, yes?
The poppet can also be used to customize your sackboy. You can find various accessories like clothes, hats, wigs, colors, and a bunch of other stuff. You don't have to do this, but it's a nice way to give your little guy some personality. You can dress it up as almost anything. Different animals, monsters, a wrestler, Mozart, the possibilities are endless. You can also find objects which along with the stickers can be used to decorate your pod. It doesn't serve any real purpose, but it is fun to see what kind of stuff you can find. Every time you die, you get sent back to your last checkpoint, which are these giant cardboard circles that spit you out. Everything in the game, from pits to enemies to lightning to getting squished, kills you instantly. Except fire, which is odd. You'd think that'd be the easiest thing to kill a ragdoll with. You do have lives, but it doesn't work in a traditional way. Most games have a set amount of lives, and when they're all gone, it's game over. Here, every time you pass a checkpoint, your lives reset to 4. And checkpoints are everywhere in these levels. There's one in between almost every obstacle. This essentially means you have 4 tries on each obstacle, and if you get a game over, you have to start the whole level over. I'm kinda mixed on this. If you know me, you know I think game overs are stupid, and I hate having to replay stuff I've already done. And here, while you do get more chances overall, if you have one thing that just keeps giving you trouble, it can be really annoying to have to start the whole level over. The game's extremely easy, but there can be some really annoying moments.
Honestly, with the game being a fairly easy yet charming platformer with a distinct art style and a heavy emphasis on puzzles and collectibles, it reminds me a lot of the LEGO games.
Both of these games, despite being simple, have a lot of charm and fun factor to them. Sadly though, there is one thing about this game that isn't very good, and ironically enough for a platformer, it's the platforming. This game does not control very well. Sackboy feels pretty slippery, and is insanely heavy when jumping. A decent chunk of my deaths came from slipping off the edge or barely missing a platform because of how fast you fall. It's not the worst platforming controls I've ever seen, but it's not very good either. While the controls aren't that great, the physics are pretty solid. Almost every object can be manipulated, and even things like score orbs and collectibles can fall or be pushed. I really like this, since it lets you solve puzzles in more creative ways. And thankfully, if you get a game over, any collectible you get is replaced with a skill orb, so you don't have to get it again. When you beat a level, your total score is added up. It keeps track of how many collectibles you found, and you get bonus points for beating the level without dying. The levels are split into 8 different areas, each with their own theme, and all of them are inspired by a real-world location. The Gardens is a grassy area based on England, the Savannah is a desert based on Africa, the Wedding, which is very macabre and based on South America, this is my favorite area in the game, the Canyons are cave levels based on Mexico, the Metropolis, which is a city based on New York, the Islands, which are based on Japan, the Temples, which are based on India, and the Wilderness is a snow area based on Siberia. Each area has 3 main levels in them, but throughout the levels you can find keys which unlock bonus challenges, and unlike the other collectibles, you have to beat the level in order to obtain these. These are just short and simple, high score based levels. They either have you race to the end as fast as possible, or survive as long as you can while collecting score orbs. The main levels also have racing sections in them. You just have to reach the goal, and your score is determined by how fast you get there. You don't have to get these to beat the level, they just serve as an extra way to get bonus points.
But all this stuff I've been talking about is just the story mode. The game's defining feature is its level creator.
When you enter your pod, you can access your moon, which stores levels that you can create yourself. You have an enormous amount of things at your disposal, and you unlock more as you go through the story mode and find objects. In order to begin building stuff, you need to go through some tutorials, which are incredibly simple and kinda pointless, but hey, at least we get to listen to the narrator more. Honestly, I'm kinda sad that the narrator doesn't appear more in the game. His lines are actually pretty funny.
Don't go hurling your controller at the cat, because it might throw something back and it'll only escalate, and then, oh. It's time for you to make a scene. And no, not like the hissy fit you had in the baker shop when they'd sold out of croissants. Placing decorations. This is where all those wasted hours watching pointless TV decorating shows really doesn't pay off.
The level building itself is pretty straightforward. You can choose to have a pre-made template, or you can start from scratch. The levels you make are pretty standard, but there's a large variety of things you can put in the levels. Some are ripped straight from the story mode, but others can only be found here. You can give your level the background of any area in the story mode, and you can give it whatever music you want. Sadly, with this game being a 2.5D platformer, you have 3 planes to worry about instead of just 1, so it can be a bit annoying trying to set up obstacles that you can't just easily walk around. Other than that, it's a pretty intuitive level creator. If you're the creative type and have found the right stuff, you can make some very interesting levels. Or if you're like me and horrible at this kind of stuff, you can just place random objects all over the place and call it a day. And here is my creation. It's a city level where after passing the giant sombrero, you can jump on these drums that lead to a conveyor belt. On the conveyor belt, you have to avoid these fire rods and then jump on this giant spinning wheel. Riding it lets you pass over this fire spitter, and after passing through the bottle maze, grab these giant spinning wheels. They launch you up to these dancers, and after jumping along their arms, you hop into this wooden vent thing. And that's it.
I told you I wasn't good at this. Why do you think I named the level Garbage?
We've seen the play and create parts of this game, but we're still missing 1/3 of that tagline. Share comes from the fact that you can publish your level online for anyone to play, and you can play levels made by anyone else in the entire world. Let's check some out.
Yeah, the online services for this game have been shut down, so you can't play user-created levels anymore, which sadly takes away one of the biggest appeals of the game.
The game also has local multiplayer, and some collectibles require it in order to collect them. Sadly, I only have one PS3 controller, so I can't really try it out. Oh, yeah, and the whole snowed-in thing. I still can't get over how adorable Sackboy is. You can even use the D-pad to change his facial expressions. You can move his head and body around by moving the controller, and if you hold L2 and R2, you can move his arms around and make him do little dances. And the amount of costume pieces you get is crazy, and leads to some great character designs. And this was my final creation. A bearded Mexican wrestler who can't swim with a sombrero, combat vest, and a frying pan. Perfect. There's even a few jetpack sections where you can fly around like in creation mode, although your range is limited. Aside from the controls, my only other complaints are that it's possible to not activate a checkpoint by going over it, and sometimes you can shift planes when you don't want to, because it usually happens automatically. Also, this happened. I don't know what it is, but I love it. Now it's time for the levels, although there isn't much to say about most of them. After the tutorial, you start off in the gardens, which are ruled by the king. The king is this area's creator-curator, meaning he's the one who built these levels. I think that's a really fun idea. He just kinda sends you off and helps you learn some of the stuff that wasn't covered in the tutorial. Once you reach the end, he suggests you go to the savannah. This place is ruled by Zola the Lion King. That's a lawsuit waiting to happen. After destroying this statue,
By accident!
Sackboy goes to apologize. Zola agrees to forgive Sackboy if he finds out what's troubling the buffalo. Turns out they're being attacked by crocodiles because the Crocodile King had been accused of eating Meerkat Mum's son's stripy tail. He's actually in the VIP lounge of a disco club, and you have to drag him back to his mom, literally. After that, one of the monkeys suggests going to help Frida the bride, the curator of the wedding. Here, the butler tells Sackboy that Frida is in distress because Don Liu, the groom, has gone missing.
This was clearly a shotgun wedding.
After jumping through these skulls, that's not terrifying at all, you head down in this cave. Here you have to ride on Don Liu's dog as he lights the way. Oh, that's kinda clever. And once you find Don Liu, you have to drag him back to his own wedding. Unfortunately, Frida has lost it and is currently going on a rampage with her skull dozer. This level is basically an auto-scroller where you have to outrun the skull dozer while avoiding obstacles. Kinda reminds me of the chase levels from Crash Bandicoot. She calms down, thankfully, and Don Liu suggests joining them on their honeymoon in the canyons and meeting his uncle Jalapeno. I hope that's not racist. Once you get there, though, you find out he's been kidnapped by the evil Sheriff Zapata. These levels primarily have you use explosives to open up areas and ride on minecarts. Also, you can grab onto these spinning wheels, which I didn't realize until way too late. You break Uncle Jalapeno out of this cell, find Sheriff Zapata, and here we get our first real boss fight. He launches fireballs at you, and at the end of the line, he throws a timed explosive. You have to push the explosive over to his little fort so it'll blow up a chunk of it. Once it's destroyed, he runs back a bit, and you have to do the same thing, only with these rising platforms and avoiding bombs from above. Once you defeat him, Uncle Jalapeno thanks you and offers to drive you to the metropolis. Here we meet Mags the mechanic, and she's pissed because some guy named Zedude stole her car. These levels are highly car-focused, and you often have to drive them by grabbing these sponges and moving back and forth. It's kinda confusing though, because you hold left to go forward and right to go backward, so you're moving the joystick in the opposite direction you're actually going. Zedude challenges you to a race that lasts 2 seconds, and after salvaging Mags' car from the sewers, you confront him in a construction site. He and his bouncers shoot fireballs at you, and you have to bounce them back up at them with this thing. And one thing I forgot to mention is boss fight checkpoints are doubled, so you get 8 deaths instead of 4. Thank God. Zedu gives Sackboy his private jet, and you fly off to the islands, which is run by Grandmaster Sensei. The Sensei trains Sackboy so he can fight the terrible Oni. Once the training is complete, you have to climb this tower to save the Sensei's flame-throwing cat from a sumo wrestler. You have to hit the red buttons all over his body as he stomps around. Honestly, I had more trouble with this part before, where you have to use these spinning wheels to launch yourself up. Now we're ready to fight Oni.
Wait, what was the point of the sumo if Omi was the main enemy for this area?
Yeah, whatever. You have to fly in this balloon ship up a volcano and then go down inside to reach Oni. This fight stinks. You have to jump on these wooden panels while he bounces them with a knife, and use this switch to move this guy while avoiding fireballs. Once he's destroyed, Sensei sends Sackboy to the temples to get his own flame-throwing cat.
Can I just have yours?
Get there, and the shopkeeper sends you up a mountain to get it. Instead of finding the cat, though, you find the goddess, who says the Great Magician needs your help. The Great Magician is the creator-curator here, and he explains that the Collector is stealing the world's creations and refusing to share them. This leads to the final area, the wilderness. These levels can be brutal, and they just go on and on and on. The second one has this giant spinning wheel that you have to go around in, and the third one has some tricky platforming that really emphasizes how lousy the controls are. Throughout the third level, you find a bunch of inhabitants trapped in cages by the Collector, and you need to free them. After that, you confront the Collector, who attacks you with these machines. First, you have to avoid this thing as it comes flying down and shoots lightning barrels so you can hit the buttons on the side. Once it's destroyed, this one shows up. It pounds its arms down and deploys enemies. You have to hit the buttons on both sides of each arm, and then it blows up. The Collector runs off and apologizes for not sharing, claiming they don't have any friends. Then the king appears and tells the Collector and you that anyone in the LittleBigPlanet community can be your friends. You just need to be a part of it. And that's it. The game just kinda stops right there.
Well, that was anticlimactic.
I do have the Game of the Year edition, though, which comes with a few bonus levels which were made by members of the community. Yeah, I think I've had enough.
Game conquered. LittleBigPlanet is a good game. Is it a 95 on Metacritic good? Oh god no, the controls alone could lower that score. Aside from that though, it is a delightful, clever, charming game. But there's not much of a reason to play it anymore.
One of the game's most important features was being able to share levels online, but since that feature is gone now, the only way to get custom levels is to make them yourself. That can still be fun, but I know it's not for everybody, and it severely limits the amount of content this game has. I am glad I decided to finally play this game, and I did have fun, but I don't see myself going back to it anytime soon. Give it a shot if you're curious, but I wouldn't say this game is a must-play, especially nowadays.
This game is highly dependent on being with others, which is just extra salt in the wound for me right now. It's Christmas, the most amazing time of the year, and I have nobody to share it with. You know what? Maybe that's okay. I might be on my own, but it's still Christmas. There's no right or wrong way to celebrate it. That's what makes this time of year so special. You can spend it with everyone you know, a few of the people closest to you, or just by yourself. If LittleBigPlanet taught me anything, it's that there's a lot of large communities in the world. You can all celebrate the same thing, even if you're not together. So, whether you're with a large group of friends or family, or if you're on your own, I hope you all have a great holiday season. Merry Christmas, everyone. There's just one little thing missing. Hey, what's this? A flame-throwing cat!